me. Like, what's wrong with you, bro? It's a street car with an SR on 215s, and you're in your FD car, and you smashed into my quarter panel. Idiot.
Yeah.
You sound a little upset about it.
One of my favorite parts about you, Matt,
the
is...
best part. Go ahead.
No, you go on.
What's the best part?
He smashes into my car, doesn't even say sorry about it, just drives off track, and then the next lap, that dickhead's wheel falls off, and he breaks everything on the corner of his car. Serves you right, dickhead.
I like you because you're the biggest shit talker next to me.
I love it.
I love it.
God, I hate that guy.
What other drivers don't you like, and what don't you like about them?
That's a good question, Sam.
Starting with Oscar.
For the longest time, I didn't like Frederick very much.
Okay,
yeah, we were all in the same boat.
I thought he was just soft, but I spent that whole year with him, or four events that first time in China, and we partied, we talked shit, we drove together, and my respect level for him went substantially up. And
Good.
Honestly, I don't really have a problem with him now. I
He's
think
awesome, man.
maybe my preconceived notions were more jealousy than it was anything else, because after spending time with him, I'm like, I like that.
Well, he came up so fast, and then he was immediately the nemesis. Not the nemesis, actually, but, it's Forsberg versus him, and I was like, oh, fucking Team Forsberg, screw the other guy. And then I realized that, like, oh, man, I really like Frederick. And now Frederick said that he was driving for America at Irwindale, and he did really well there. So Freddie's the best.
For America. Yeah, he's really, really good.
All right, so
needed.
Okay, this will be the big deal breaker. Who did you want to win against Osbo and Vaughn at Irwindale? We just heard you confess your love.
To be honest, I didn't want James to win the championship 2 times in a row.
I agree with that.
So, but it's not like I don't like James or I don't want James to win a championship. I just thought it would be nice if somebody didn't win 2 in a row. But obviously James deserved it. And to be completely honest, after the first set of runs, I wasn't sure that it deserved a one more time. But I mean, obviously I like Vaughn a lot and I'm glad that Vaughn won. I guess I just don't like seeing complete domination in any motorsport, right?
Yeah, agreed.
F1, I hate that Lewis wins all the time. I like Lewis, he's one of my favorite drivers, but I hate that he wins all the time. So it's kind of the same thing with James. James is one of my favorite drivers. I respect the hell out of him, but I obviously don't want him to win every single time.
Just part of what made that event so special, though, is that it was up in the air. I was thinking it was going to be a boring Irwindale because James was kind of a shoo-in if he just beat pretty much who beat you, Forrest. So that must have been a little bit of a letdown in losing to Forrest. I forget what happened in that battle between you and him at Irwindale.
So the whole thing that went down at Irwindale is my engine died pretty much. Number 7, no compression, just dead in practice, which is why my car caught on fire because it blasted oil everywhere. And what happened was it pushed the front main seal out of the engine because it had so much crankcase pressure.
You don't need that.
And that's why my car caught on fire. So all we did, we couldn't fix it. All we did was just spray contact cleaner down the entire car and push it out to the line and start it up and go. And to be completely honest with you, I have no idea how FD even let me go on that run because my car was pretty much on fire before I left the line, right? Just spraying oil everywhere. And I was just like, well, if they're going to let me go, I'm going to go, of course.
Send
it. I initiate behind Forrest, right? I mean, was he not going to go? Come on. Right. And I initiated behind Forrest on the bank and had a sick follow around the bank. And then right at the end of the bank, I lost all power steering and I started going to crash into the wall. And it was all I could do to pull it off the wall. And what ended up happening was it blew so much oil everywhere. It blew it all over the belt, and the power steering pump was just slipping because there's so much oil on the belt. My whole engine bay was covered in oil. It was bad. So
I guess that's a good thing
that I didn't even crash. So
yeah, you're lucky you didn't crash, and I guess it's a good thing that you didn't beat him and then not be able to show up to the line against Dean in 16, because then that would have given Dean the win right away there, and we wouldn't have had that beautiful show.
Definitely exciting. Right. Yep. It's a bummer to go out in top 32, but there was no way it was doing anything much more than that. We were lucky to even get that far in the battle with how hurt the engine was. So
did you pull apart the motor at all during the season, or did it just run from Long Beach on?
It was solid basically the whole time. And to be honest, it was like some fuel stuff that caused that one cylinder to lean out and basically blew a hole in the piston. So it's not like, oh, we had a parts failure. It's like fuel shit, which is always a pain in the ass.
And
it's one of those things.
Hold on, Corey. Josh is up.
Oh, nice.
You had so many good questions. You took them all. I was like sitting there like, come on. You were going to ask something.
Oh, questions for Josh is passing the question to me. What fuel do you run? Do you run E or do you run race gas?
E85.
E85,
yeah.
Yep.
That's so
corn fed.
But that's kind of like inconsistent, right? Like,
I don't know. Yeah, is that the thing? You said there was a fuel issue, and the reason why I asked is E is it seems like a lot of people, not a lot of people, but
I didn't clean the injectors out this season, and honestly, there's been years where I have no problems at all.
Right.
And there's been years where I've had to clean the injectors out 2 times. So I think it's one of those things, depending on how long your car sits, it can start clogging up the injectors. So I think, it just was sat a little bit too long, and that's that.
Man.
There's my E36 beater pulling in.
do you get gallons of E85 and hold it, because doesn't it deteriorate? How is it? It's unstable over time, right?
Does it deteriorate inside the cans?
So I get 55-gallon drums of Ignite, and there's never ever been a problem with the fuel itself. It always just works out to be like the components around the fuel, So you have there's some learning experience. Like your filtration has to be very good. You got to stay on top of it. You got to clean out the injectors. It's just more corrosive than regular gasoline, and that's just part of the deal. And honestly, it was my bad for not staying on top of it.
But why don't you just run like a C16 or a different type of race fuel? Because that does obviously help a little bit in the sense of maintenance and wear and tear. And
yeah. Honestly, I've had nothing but good luck.
Gotcha. Understandable.
With E85, so if my car never overheats, it runs cool. There's been situations where I've had a fuel pump die, and if it was on race gas, my engine would have completely exploded. Because I run E85, there was no problems. Literally just put a new fuel pump in it and run, where normally the engine would have melted down. So there's as many bad things that there are with it. There's so many benefits that I can't get away from it. Like my tuner loves it. The engine builders love it. It's been really, really good to me. So you have to know the stuff that comes along with it,
So pretty much,
I had a really busy year.
Yeah, you
I had a really busy year this year. Busiest year of my life.
It's pretty much as long as you keep up with the maintenance, like a routine maintenance with the E85, everything else should be all pros.
Right. The only thing is there's a lot of people use like pump E85, and that's where the inconsistencies come from. So if I'm going to make a recommendation to anybody, like, should I do race gas, pump gas E85, pump E85? Definitely buy it by the barrel. I run Ignite Red, and that stuff is super reliable. Like, I basically, the owner of Ignite will text me, but like the week before a race, and be like, hey, you need fuel for this race? I say, yep. It shows up at the track. He builds my card, no questions. It's always there. It's super reliable, so it's easy. Where you run pump E85, you're supposed to do like testing on it, and it's a little bit more work. So.
Why is it inconsistent? Is it because it's a more volatile consistency?
Different brands.
I mean, obviously
have different quality.
Yeah, there's a recipe that, for example, like race gas companies use, right? Which is why your race gas is always the same. Where pump gas, especially 85, is not as regulated by the government to have a certain octane rating or consistency or any of the extra garbage in it or whatnot. So a lot of times your E85 from the same gas station, different months might be different.
Also, I can never tell if it's placebo effect in my head, but like I definitely feel like I can tell when there's differences in pump gas. Sometimes, like some tanks, my car just feels shittier than others. Like I don't know.
Well, there's
especially
a tester for E85
have,
though.
Like, proper sensors, Like in a BMW, it has fuel sensors that, like, in my my 7 Series, when I was driving that around every day, I asked Chelsea, and he's like, "Yeah, bro, I'll put some E85 in there. I put it in there all the time. It's no problem. I would mix half a fuel tank of E85 because I got a bunch of E85, like just old E85 that I drain out of my tanks over the year. I just put it in this thing, and then I got to try to get rid of it somehow. So I just put it in my BMW. So the car knows, a lot of cars, they do know.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
like a lot of people gets the GM
the flex fuel
sensor, and then they just swap back and forth on their race cars, and it seems to be work pretty good, right?
Really?
I would feel like you would have to drain a whole tank to make sure that
it just mixes it. Like when the sensor just like starts detecting the concentration, and it starts adjusting the mapping. Yeah. Huh.
Well, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Would that work with different kinds of E85 as well?
To be completely honest, I've never personally used like a flex fuel sensor or anything, so I don't know the extent of what it can and can't pick up. But there's a lot of really good sensors out there, and I don't see why it couldn't, detect certain things in the fuel to alter your tune for it. But fortunately, most race engines, they have NOx sensors and a bunch of different sensors to know what's going on with the engine. And most of the time it can compensate. But if you have a race engine that's like strung the hell out, you want to do everything you possibly can to make it as consistent as possible, right? And not knowing what fuel you're putting in there is not helping, at least.
Yeah. So talking about going back to your busy season, I think it was about 2 years ago where you said that was your first time you've actually made somewhat money to where you could buy your family Christmas presents. And since that point, it seems like you've progressed quite a bit with your program, your team, your cars, doing stuff in China. How much better has it been getting in the past 2 years? From obviously you have tons of years in drifting, and that's what people know that, but you have countless years in drifting and all that time sacrificed. And finally 2 years ago, you started being able to say, okay, there's some sustainability here, but now you're D1 China, all around the Formula Drift, making killer content on YouTube and Facebook. How's it progressed from 2 years to now? What has been the big difference that caused you to somewhat make it lucrative now?
I think the biggest thing was kind of like getting a chance, right?
Right.
I really had Falcon and Heatwave were like the two sponsors that kind of took a chance on helping me create content. Because up until that point, I couldn't afford to pay a single person to do any editing or any hosting or anything on YouTube, right? There was no way I could afford it because every penny was going towards the program, paying my guys, just living a very, very modest life.
And we talked to you then too. Sorry to interrupt, but you were one of our first guests on the show, and we started, and it was like we were talking about how to get alternative sources of income. So you were talking to casinos, and like you were pumped that you could treat your guys to dinner at the casino because you couldn't pay them. And it's like all my guys around me sacrificed a ton with not getting paid for a lot of years because no one was making money, and I was spending every dime just to go racing. And honestly, what it took was, I think, throughout the years and people seeing my dedication, when I finally asked them, hey, I want to do this. I have this crazy idea to do a YouTube series around Formula Drift. But wait, it's not like every other video out there that surrounds Formula Drift. It's different because these reasons. And kind of coming up with that idea and pitching it to the select people that took the chance the first year on Frenemies is really what I think kind of skyrocketed everything. Because before that point, it was, the year before that, it was difficult. And then that was the first year that Odie and I both went teal and blue. So we had Falcon behind us pushing the frenemies. So when we reached out to some of our other partners, it made sense to them. They saw, a big corporate sponsor like Falcon being on board with it. So they knew that the content was going to be, good and not just some junk that we're promising sponsors where really there's not a lot of viewership on there. And obviously partnering with Donut was huge for me because those guys kind of opened up and said, we like the idea. We're going to take a chance and not do it for a whole lot of money because we hope that this series grows and we hope that we can grow with you at the same time. And since then, working with them on the first year and then doing all the Corvette build episodes and building a Corvette, all those things kind of happened one thing after another. And because of those situations, I was able to bring in other partners, do a lot bigger things. And now I find like I have a Corvette that I drive around. I don't drive around a piece of junk E36. And like, don't get me wrong, the Corvette wasn't expensive, but it's still like, I actually have something. I actually have something that's not just a Formula Drift car. Because forever and ever, I had one Formula Drift car and nothing else in my life. I was with Donut at the time, and I was like, we shouldn't do this because this
what a dick.
is not going to pay off.
Yeah.
So basically, the content and everything, you think that's just way better for drivers in general than actually the competition side of it? Like, is for anybody that's jumping up from like Pro-Am to Pro 2 to Pro 1, is that something that they should really focus on, or is it just kind of like
I think they have to go hand in hand, right? Because when you look at, for example, like for me, I took the route where I worked hard, I competed as much as I possibly could. I started doing decent in Formula Drift, so people started knowing who I was. Then when I produced content, people watched that content because they already knew who I were. When you also have people who start their whole careers on YouTube and then go drifting, I feel like that's kind of taking a similar approach, right? Like they're focusing all their energy on their YouTube stuff. They make a name for themselves, then they can actually build a car, have sponsors, go do competition. And then there's the path where you're trying to do them both at once. And I think that they're three different outlets. It's just two of them weren't for me and one of them was, and that's just the type of person that I am. But I feel like at this point, you have to at least have some content out there. Just doing Formula Drift is not enough.
Isn't it crazy to think you spend 10 years in drifting, 8 years of it is living on cup of noodles like a college student?
Yep.
Getting a chance, running with it, and 2 years later, you're finally at a point where it's like, I'm comfortable drifting now. You know, it's crazy to think that you can invest 10 years. Or the other way to look at it.
Hustle.
Well, the other thing, too, is like those 8 years, you probably spent more in drifting than getting a college degree at Harvard. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
literally, you're probably spending as much or more money than getting a degree.
But I think there's a misconception. Like people think that even if you get a degree from Harvard, you will automatically have a great life.
Oh,
but it's a hustle. It's a
It's
hustle.
just I think it depends on the individual. It all
exactly.
strictly depends on the individual.
not only that, but think about the amount of debt that you have coming out of a school. That's true. If you're not having scholarships and whatnot,
we've known
in a Formula car drift, you know,
we've
like
known
build.
of many cases of people they've gone in debt.
They melted credit cards.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so it kind of is like, you know, you pick your profession, you pick your schooling, you pick your, you know, driving. I mean, you could be driving every single weekend out of pocket to try to make it into, you know, pro and everything like that, and come up with the exact same costs or worse, you know, than you would go to school. It's a passion. For everybody, there's a certain passion, and for this, you know, some people risk it all with this kind of stuff, and that's what I was kind of bringing up the whole content thing. Is like, you know, what if people just start doing content first, and they're recognized so much that then they start going to these, you know, Pro-Am series with a good pocket because of the fact that they have good content and good sponsors behind them too. So
I think that's a really good base to start off of. It just depends on the type of person. Like me, I could not do what a lot of those YouTube guys do. I just could not do it.
Right.
But I'm sure a lot of those guys couldn't do what I did, grinding 16 hours a day, every single day for 8 years, you know? So it's just, I feel like if you're happy and you're okay with making videos and you're good at that, that's the thing. I have zero editing skills and all of that. So I would initially have to pay somebody to do that, where I have car skills. So I automatically don't have to pay somebody to build me a car, right? So I think it's kind of whatever skills you have, you should try to pursue that, because deciding halfway through, I want to change my mind 180 degrees and do something completely different, that's more difficult than just kind of keeping with it. And I think the only reason why I've gotten to anywhere close to where I am is because I decided a long time ago, this is what I want to do, and no one's going to tell me no, and I'm going to make it happen for myself,
no matter what,
with or without anybody.
Yeah.
But you could also just go the Corey Hossman route, like start racing first, be bad at it, and then hire a skilled videographer like me, and then have someone like me help you out with videos, and then I'll get hired on by someone else better, and then leave Corey alone, and then he has to find his own way. He has to go through some dark nights in the rain, cry a little bit, and then eventually we'll get a podcast together.
The real reason why I quit drifting, Sam, is because I got pregnant, just like that one chick that drove the S15. So it's not because you left me.
You still haven't had your baby, though.
The thing is, it's
been many years.
I've been pregnant for 2 years now, and
he's in his 16th trimester.
I'm hoping to give birth to like a baby Godzilla or something. It's been brewing for a long time.
She'll be a brown baby for sure.
No, but the idea is like, I think when you step into something like this thing, especially, we're all taking a risk, especially right now, for drifting being as young as it is in the United States. It's been around for 15 years professionally.
You can't even drive yet.
Well, you're taking a risk stepping into something new, not knowing. Like, think about it. People who stepped in GRC, they were in it for 2-3 years, and it's gone. It's long gone. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So willing to make the sacrifice, saying, you know what, it's brand new. I'm going to go give it a shot and see what happens. You're not always guaranteed a job the next year. But the other thing, I think, you have to have the willpower to be okay not making anything for 8 years. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you have to be willing to say, all right, well, I guess it's another night on, sleep on my buddy's couch or sleeping at mom's house eating a cup of noodles. But you know what? It's cool because it's worth it. And I think when people I'm sure you get this asked all the time, Matt, and some other people get asked, it's like, what does it take to become a pro driver? And it's like, how do you explain all that? How do you explain that? I don't think there's really an easy answer, as most people have different.
Watching Field's trajectory is a fun and interesting one to look at, because he is one of the younger drivers in the sport now that didn't just show up with a shit ton of money, because he showed up with his S14 and gave Daigo a run for his money at Irwindale, and then it was all riches and fame from there right away. No, it was 3 years of hardcore hustle, and now he's finally making it. But I think, and we'll definitely, I think in past shows we've probably done a lot better of spending an hour or two just about that trajectory. But Matt Field's trajectory is definitely one of the more interesting ways of someone going from, I don't want to say rags to riches, because you weren't in rags then and you're not in riches now, but something a little more temperate of a change
in the
from
middle
there.
of there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it may have been like a flat line, and then it started going.
Yeah.
It started erecting the past 2 years. But once again, I think the idea and the concept is that it doesn't matter what else happens as long as you're constantly pursuing that, and no matter if you're okay willing to be dragged through the dirt a little bit. I think if you really want to do anything, it's going to take that at some point. You know what I mean? No matter what it is. If it's coming out of college looking for a job or doing this, I think the idea is still all relative and the same. So going back to the original question, you've had an extremely busy year. What have you done? Obviously, you did Formula Drift. You did some D1. What are the series like? What else have you done? Comparisons between the two series. I'm sure you can elaborate on all that, but kind of give us a rundown on what this year was.
We got to go.
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second, plugging in my phone. So this year, the busiest year of my entire life. I did a full Formula Drift program. Well, it kind of all starts at doing the FIA Cup in whatever it was, like December in Japan or wherever it was. Going from that into everything I had going on at the end of the season, to starting to build the Corvette, right? Like, because I started literally the day I got home from Irwindale, we started on the Corvette. And that was 5 months of my entire life where all I did was work on the car. That was it. Mm-hmm. It was even more difficult because I filmed the whole thing and produced the show. So when I would go home after, and I had guys helping me, but I'd spend 14 hours at the shop and then go home, and instead of just like going right to bed, I would start to upload all the footage from that day and then start ordering parts that I figured I had to order. And then by the time I went to sleep and woke up, I'm like, great, 3 hours of sleep. Again, let's go.
Right.
Go to the shop, work another 12 or 14 hours, and then the same exact thing. So once I got invited to a bunch of stuff during the off season that I had to turn down because I was building the car. And hopefully I get to do those things during this off season. But going into Long Beach, I was exhausted. I had a car that I had only driven 5 times before that. I mean, that's better than most, but right. I had 4 or 5 test days under my belt. I was still completely afraid of the car. But we did okay. We made top 16, and going on from there, I got invited. While I was at Long Beach, one of the RDS dudes was there, had a meeting with me, and he invited me out to do RDS. So I went to Russia one time this year, and then I had 5 trips to China. That is always exhausting. And then on top of just the trips to China, I prepare a lot of parts for my team out in China. So I'm constantly shipping stuff back and forth, and doing international shipping is a total pain in the ass because they have specific weights and dimensions that I have to box these weights in, and they have to like make a minimum weight and have a maximum weight so that they can get the best deal on shipping. and then writing all the international paperwork, basically trying to show that it's not a bunch of money in parts, right? I got to like keep everything under $500. So I have to create an itemized invoice that has every nut, every bolt, every item that goes on there. So doing all that to support that team is as much as it is an arrive and drive, which is absolutely crazy because I've never had anything like that in my career at all. It's a lot of work on the back end, and then there's a lot of instruction that I give them, right? I want to make this change, and they send me a million pictures. So it's really like running two complete programs, even though one is my program and one is arrive and drive. It's still so much work. I shot the Mountain Road video on Calaveras. I did a bunch of little like commercial video stuff. I did a couple of things for Wish. I did a couple of things for Borla.
I didn't realize that was Calaveras. Sorry to interrupt. I've driven that road before. It's near my dad's house.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Damn it, that's top secret location number 3. I shouldn't have said it.
Oh, shit, man. Dude, when my dad first got his BRZ, he's like, oh, check out this road behind my house. And we drove his BRZ on that road. I should have recognized it. It looked like every other. There's so many crazy, windy-ass roads in that area that are beautiful, though.
Yeah.
So but that's. I didn't hear you. Paco, delete that.
delete.
Okay,
Gone.
Delete it.
Right,
so
cool.
real quick.
What else?
Well, on that one thing you were talking about right there, you said China's exhausting. Give us a rundown on what makes China so exhausting.
The food.
All right.
How big
Like
it
first
is.
thing, break down your China weekend.
We have practice on Friday, and I have to leave home on Wednesday. So, and I have to fly out of San Francisco, living in San Jose. So it's like a 45-minute drive to the airport when there's no traffic. So from my travel time from where I leave my door until I get to the hotel is at least 24, 26 hours, something like that. So that is exhausting all on its own. And then trying to like snap yourself into the correct time zone is horrible. But we have practice on Friday, and how D1 goes is there's just open practice for everybody on Friday. And then they have like pre-qualifying basically, because let's say, 60 people show up to the event. They only take like the top 38 people or something like that. It's a weird number that they actually allow to qualify on Saturday. And then they're seeded drivers. So if you're in the top 8 in the championship rankings, you don't have to do the pre-qualifying. But basically the pre-qualifying is like you throw down a decent run, you're in for real qualifying. So then Saturday comes around, we have 1 or 2 practice sessions usually. And how D1 does practice is groups. So there'll be like 4 or 5 groups of 7 to 9 cars, and they're like 15-minute sessions or 20-minute sessions. So there's not a whole lot of adjusting on the car in between runs. Like Formula Drift, we might change the entire car setup between 2 practice runs. But in D1, you go out there with your set of tires, and basically the only changes that you might make are clicks to the suspension, like rebound and compression, and tire pressure, because there's almost no time to do anything else. There's no gear changes. There's no plugging into the ECU and correcting tune. There's no sway bar change. There's nothing. So you go out there and run back-to-back laps with just changing tire pressure, and then you go into your qualifying. And I'm sure as many of you guys know, D1 qualifying uses the DOS system, which is D1 original scoring system, and that's the robot judge.
We've talked heavily about it on this show. Even on the last episode with Jim and Ryan, we got into it a little bit, but controversial system, and many people complain about it. Many people, we actually haven't talked to anyone that likes it, but everyone does mention
I like it.
it's in, well, okay, Matt, well, here we fucking go. But everyone does mention its insincerity and its robotic nature. What's your take on it?
Right. The reason why I like it is because it rewards speed. And obviously there's a ton wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. It's not better than Formula Drift style qualifying. It's way worse. To me, it's another challenge. And that's the thing. I don't dislike it just because it's different, right? It's its own thing. So you have to just, if you don't compare it to Formula Drift, then you're like, oh, okay, this is difficult, right? Because qualifying in Formula Drift is now very, very difficult. You just look at the scores. If you get an 89 or a 90, you might be in 12th or 13th place in qualifying in FD, And D1's kind of the same thing. It's just we're working on 99s and 100s where, Formula D, we're working over the spread of 10 points. So it's just different in its own way. I like the fact that it rewards speed and very aggressive driving. I don't like that line isn't a factor, but it's just a different way of drifting. And for me, anytime that I can learn a different discipline, I'm completely down, which is why I, tried some go-kart stuff, which is why I like doing off-road. I want to drive everything as much as possible just because I want to be the best driver that I can possibly be. And that's what the DOS system does, is it teaches you another way of drift driving. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So I want to go back to the competition and just the exhausting side of it. How long is the flight from San Francisco to China?
It's like between 12 and 14 hours, depending on where you're going.
That is just right there is brutal.
Are you still jet lagged? You must be. Or is it only just hitting?
No, jet lag is all in your mind.
That's not true.
What a wizard.
Well, that is.
What a wizard.
That's literally
jet lag. Nah.
Here's what I do, right? I try my absolute hardest to time it out so that I'm on the right schedule for sleeping while I fly, right? So I don't get on the plane and then crash out for 12 hours and then wake up at midnight in China and expect to go to sleep, right? Like that doesn't happen. So on my way out, because most of the international flights are between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and that usually puts you in China at like 10 p.m. the following day, or like between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. the following day, right? So I try not to sleep on the plane so when I get there at 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. or whatever time it is, I'm dead, wrecked to shit, and I just fall asleep. If I slept on the plane the entire time, I'd get there at midnight being all chipper and ready to go. So I try not to do that. And then on the way back, I almost always land like in the afternoon, which is funny. Like this time I flew out Monday at 4 p.m. out of China, and I arrived Monday at 1 p.m. in the U.S.
Yeah.
So speaking of jet lag, what are basically the differences between your Corvette and your D1 car? Is there some little bit of lag there?
That's a good segue, Josh.
Thanks.
Good Josh knocking it out.
So it has a very similar powertrain. That car has an LS7 with the same exact blower bracketry, everything. The only it has a GSR, so it's a dog box instead of sequential. Both the cars have quick changes. That car has WiseFab, which I'm not a giant fan of. And it's also, I don't know, when I first started driving that car last year, I was like, oh, this chassis is a great D1 chassis. Like, I like it. It's good. I started making it better and better and better and better and better. And then finally at this round, we kind of hit a brick wall with it. And it's still very, very good. Like, we were the top qualifier in our practice runs before qualifying, because they give you your qualifying score in practice before the engine took a shit. Oof. But the major differences is, and it's funny, I described this to my team here as well as China and my friends, like, it's a little crude, but like when I drive my cars here, right? Like the S14, the Corvette, when I'm driving it, it feels like my dick. Like, you're in control of your own dick, right?
Yeah, that must be terrible.
You are in control of your own dick. You got a lot of experience with your own dick. You know exactly what it's doing.
I didn't really say so, right? Obviously.
Let me finish. We all have a lot of experience with our own dicks, right?
Yep.
When I drive the 8.6 over in China, it feels like I'm driving with boxing gloves on. I feel there's a disconnect between me and the car, and I've done all the right stuff, right? Like, I talk to FD teams who have that car. I talk to these guys. We make all these changes. I go back and forth, and I just still feel like there's a disconnect with me in the car. And I think a lot of it has to do with the chassis itself.
So what you're saying?
Chassis, it's just not as good as a fucking Corvette.
So what you're saying is, you don't like playing with your dick with boxing gloves?
Yeah, he doesn't like punching with boxing gloves.
I mean, I mean, who does?
I mean, or are you suggesting that you have to play with other dicks
with boxing gloves?
Kind of like not to get to kind of like
driving that car is like playing with another dick with boxing gloves.
Well, see, that's why I never pete next to Matt at an FD event. See, I always see him with boxing gloves walking, and I go, "Not my dick, buddy. Not today.
Not today.
No, put your gloves off, man. Take those things off."
Remember?
Well, I don't know. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
To explain it.
Hold on, Matt. Actually, my mom is in town for Thanksgiving. Could you explain it to her real quick?
Oh, perfect. She should just watch the show afterwards.
No, she's actually watching it in the background right now, but she has some questions.
Okay, good. Let's see if Drift Mom has a question for Matt here. This is great.
Right, yeah.
This is some great stuff. Oh, yes.
What?
Hi, Drift Mom.
Analogy just now, right?
No, I'm. It's on delay.
Okay,
I'm
so
way
Matt,
behind.
I'm way behind.
Andale.
All right, so Matt says he was punching his dick with boxing gloves. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, this is what I actually said. When I drive my Corvette here, it's like my own dick. That's how my Corvette is. That's how connected I feel. That's what I said, basically.
Do we have boxing gloves to kind of give a reference?
Josh, that's a good.
Hold on, Sam.
Hey,
Sam.
you know what? The product is Maximum Driftcast boxing gloves. Make it.
Okay, hold on. So let's see what Drift Mom has to say and if she agrees.
Oh God. Yes.
Yeah.
She agrees. All right, you pass the test, Matt.
That's how Sam was made. Boxing gloves and dicks.
Corey.
Well, what?
I'll just remember this when I'm driving my 6-speed.
Oh, go ahead.
S2000.
S2000.
Oh,
yeah.
Connected you feel.
Dang.
Yes, very. You listen. I still respect and love you and admire your driving. So that's what's important. Are you gonna let me off the hook now, son?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Well, thanks for the kind words, Sam's mom.
Did you explain it to her, Matt?
Yeah, she said she's going to try it next time she hops in her car.
Very cool.
All right. Before we proceed, let me just let's take this funny parenthesis to go real quick with super chat questions that came up. So Cars with Chris sent us one a while ago.
Okay.
Which actually is for Josh.
Oh,
question for Josh. How does he stand on the pineapple on pizza debate?
Ooh.
Strong.
That's
And I'm going to extend that question to Matt.
But all right, so pineapple, ham, the Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's good.
Wow, great.
My
Good,
go-to.
In your face, Federico.
Federico, really?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
I'm going to bring you one next time. No, then he'll like this one. I like Italian sausage with ricotta cheese on a pizza. Mm-hmm. It's great. The ricotta has to be in nice big chunks.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that. If you get the Italian spicy sausage on a nice,
sounds delicious.
well, maybe some little white sauce.
Puttanesca.
Wow.
Matt,
way to break that down, Josh.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it was great.
Matt,
thanks.
Pineapple on pizza.
So I don't dislike any pizza, but I will definitely never, ever, ever order a Hawaiian pizza myself. However,
you just killed Josh.
Jalapeno, pineapple, amazing.
Okay, throwing a little wrench.
Yeah.
So you have a problem with
the
ham.
The spicy, the salty, the sweet, all three.
So you don't like the ham, then?
That's me, you, and Sam. The spicy. Sam's the
salty,
and I'm the sweet. So
Salty,
like
obviously.
like Matt's favorite pizza.
Yeah.
We'll make
All
that a
three.
T-shirt.
Perfect. There's
Okay,
another
go ahead.
Paul Velichkov, first time super chatter, long time super chatter.
We kind of went through this, but appreciate the question. Go ahead.
He asked for Matt. Give us a quick
No,
breakdown of
we
your
don't have a
D1 car.
full breakdown.
But if you want to do like a quick breakdown of your D1 car, please.
Boxing gloves.
Okay.
Boxing gloves.
Let's start off with boxing gloves.
I hope that's your livery next year. You just got a big boxing glove on the side.
Wait,
Kinda
hold
like
on.
Josh
Before he rolls, Josh Robinson has a boxing glove kangaroo.
I know.
That's a
Do you think-
freaking
what do you think
sign.
That's what it means.
That's what it means. He punches his
I bet
dick.
how that dude drives, he looks like he's driving with boxing gloves too. God damn.
Shots fire!
Man,
it's good to know that if I ever can't make another show, then we just
get Josh Robinson on the line.
Yeah, we're gonna get Matt.
We're selling this right now.
Yeah, no, Matt's gonna be our new host every time Sam's gone.
All right.
Mild breakdown.
It's a GT86, which is FRS, blah, blah, blah. It has a LS7 engine in it. It's got all forged internals, but fairly basic engine. It's like 9.5 to 1 compression with a Vortex supercharger on it. Very similar setup that I run with the Corvette. It does have like the regular Corvette LS7 dry sump setup where my Corvette has like a true dry sump. It has Wisefab suspension front and rear, part shop max, double adjustable shocks. Something kind of cool that they did was they actually put a sway bar in the front of it, which is pretty awesome. Thanks for the tip, Goosh. It has a G-Force GSR 4-speed NASCAR style dog box in it. Has a Winters quick change rear end, drive shaft shop axles, pretty standard pro drift car stuff. Rear mount radiator, has a pretty nice fuel cell in the back. There, as far as like the interior goes, there's no dash because they don't have like dash requirements. So it's just like a little piece of sheet metal. The wiring's nice motorsports wiring. It's a Falcon car. So we run on Falcon 615K plus, 265, 35 front, 18 front tires and 295, 40, 18 rears. That car has something kind of cool about that car. Actually, it has like the endless brakes, and those endless brakes have like it's a single rear caliper with 2 ports in it, both. One for the foot brake, one for the hand brake.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Yep. But the only downside to it is that the stuff's heavy, so it's not like the super lightweight Willwood stuff that we use here in the U.S. It's like big rotors. It's kind of heavy. The car is kind of heavy. I can't tell you exactly how much because every time I ask them, the number changes. But I'll tell you it feels heavy to drive. Like, and I think the main disconnect that I have with that car is because it's so heavy. The D1 courses are very, very small and tight, and a light, nimble car is way better than a heavy, powerful car on big tires. So I think that's where the main disconnect comes from. I did a lot of work to the front suspension to get it to work how I liked because there was a ton of binding issues, and like Wisefab has a bump stop on the trailing wheel on an 8.6 instead of the leading wheel, and like I don't know how to do that with 2 hands, but like I don't know if you guys know what that means.
Kind of.
We do.
Yeah, here I'll do it like this. Like if you're drifting this way, instead of the bump stop being on this tire, it's on this tire, so that means this tire is just let to flop around. I have no idea why Wisefab did it like that. So we changed that. So it had a bump stop on both sides. We did a lot of work in the rear to drop the anti-squat and actually have it toe in under compression because the Wisefab stuff actually toes out under compression normally. So that took a lot of work. It's got like stock pedals. It's, a really nice roll cage. It's got a lot of, fiberglass and carbon stuff in there, but it's still just a little bit of a heavy car. But overall, from when I started driving that car to how it is now, like hats off to the team because they made it a much, much better car. And they deal with me every time I ask them, hey, change this. And I want different spring rates and I want a different alignment. I want all these things different. They do it. So it's an awesome car for me to show up and drive because I'm a firm believer and it's hard for me to bring myself to drive for like another team because the only teams that I would ever drive for would people that have to be able to build a better car than I do. And I feel like I build a pretty decent car. So hats off to that team.
Awesome.
Wow. Great answer.
Are you planning on doing it again next year?
I've been asked that like 50 times in the last 4 days.
Oh, cool. Well, I just ignore this one then.
Yeah. I don't know. I would like to, but I might have some stuff going on with RDS. I might have a full plate doing all the stuff that I have over here in the U.S. that we talked about before. Or I might say screw it and do it because I enjoy doing it. So I'm not sure yet.
Do you make any money doing it? If you want to be so bold as to say, you do. Okay, so you're not just doing it because you want to compete in China. You're actually making money driving.
Right.
Good man.
Yep. I'm a hired driver out there.
Oh, cool.
Good stuff.
Mission accomplished, Matt. Well done, buddy.
Thank
well
you.
done.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's not everybody can do that, and a lot of people give up before they do. So only a few survive. And, you're able to make it through.
So, what is the most frustrating aspect of the series compared to Formula Drift? And also, on the other end of the coin, what is the most refreshing part about the series?
The most difficult part, and I guess the hardest to swallow, is that there's one judge, one guy.
Really?
And for example, in battle, your lead run is judged off of DOS, right? So you're only given, and it's like from 0 to 10, right? That's your lead run score. And then the follow driver is given a score based off of how well they do, right? So they'll lose points if they do shitty. They'll get points higher than the lead run score if they do well, right?
And that's judged by the human single judge.
The follow run is judged by the human single judge. The lead run is judged based off of docs. So the most difficult part is where when you get a score for your follow run, that's just it. There's no arguing. There's no, like, he'll explain it to you, but that's one guy explaining it. And he doesn't use replays. Like, I mean, he can, but basically he watches the run and he gives a score, and that's that. There's no protests. Once a decision is made, that's it. That's it. There is no, oh, I lost, but really that guy did that. Review the footage, change your decision. Now I win. That doesn't happen. And it's difficult being one judge. And another thing that's difficult is when you want to make a change, or you have a recommendation, or you see a problem with the track or how things are ran, whether it be practice or whatever it is. And like, I'll raise my hand at the driver's meeting, and then my translator has to translate my question to the judge. And then that question has to be reiterated to all the other drivers in Chinese. And then the answer goes, and Japanese people are not very accustomed to like change. So they
or the authorities being questioned, I imagine too.
Right.
That's a Chinese
exactly.
thing too. It's like...
Exactly. And no one else asks questions really, right? And if they do, it's just for clarification, where I'll ask something because I want to change. I want it the other way, right? They'll say this way, I want it that way, and it's always no. So,
wow.
And don't get me wrong, maybe I'm not right, maybe I'm wrong certain times, but there are definitely some times where I know I'm right, and they're just like, it's definitely a no. And the only reason why I ask it is to just be annoying.
Just let them know.
It's hard to be annoying.
No,
I can only imagine what they would think of someone like Vaughn in one of their meetings.
Oh, God.
No.
Wouldn't invite him over there. Wouldn't take him. Well, that's obviously you had a great experience at FIA, and that's why you're probably not back there. But it seems like they had a very similar issue with the organization this year as well. Which
again, really, I haven't heard a whole lot about what went down. From what I have heard, it was, we're doing Formula D style judging, but really we're using the DOS, but only for this. But really we're using it for more than you think.
How? Yeah, I don't understand how that works, or how they. Hopefully something
just
changed.
Don't ask
there.
questions.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I just spent $100 million to be here. I'm just going to sit back and watch it burn.
Yeah, we obviously want to see it succeed.
Right? No, we do.
We do succeed, but literally everything that anyone has said anything about it to us has been poor, which sucks.
Yeah, unfortunately, which is why I didn't do it this year, because the FIA contacted me, asked me to do it, and I just decided not to. It was obviously the same time as SEMA.
He also said the same thing that every other major American driver said, is like, no, I have obligations at SEMA.
Yeah, exactly. SEMA was really good for me this year, having the Corvette in the Borla booth, doing all the drift demos for Kia, driving for Falcon out at the Speedway. I had a ton of good meetings, so missing out on that to go do the FIA just didn't make sense.
No.
Oh, yeah, you were the guy that broke them, right?
That broke them? The FIA?
Kias.
No, the Kias.
Oh, the Kia. Actually, no. To be completely honest, the one thing that I did, and it's, God damn it, all you race service assholes and all you donut jerks, the tire blew up, all right? The tire blew up, and it ripped the rear bumper off, and everyone's like, Matt crashed the Stinger. He crashed it into the wall. And I'm like, no, dickhead, the tire blew up because I told him, hey, the tires are done. They're like, no, keep going. I'm like, the tires are done. One more lap, Matt, one more lap. And then that lap, the tires blew up.
I didn't say any of this. Jerks. I don't know who you're talking about. You confuse the parties. Maybe one of the other guys said that. I'm sure if you would have asked me, I would have been like, hey, guy, keep it calm. Just, have a nice, safe drift.
Yeah, these tires have feelings, too.
We can just slap some new tires on. Like, hey guys, just one more set of tires over here.
One more set of tires.
One more set, please.
Driving the Kias was awesome. It's so much fun. But a couple of them transmissions finally broke. But honestly, it's kind of expected because
they're literally
the
stock
same
cars.
Yeah. Well, and they're the same cars from last year, and we beat the crap out of them last year, and there was 0 issues. And then this year did the exact same thing. And then at the end of the whole week, 2 cars had some transmission problems. But I mean, you really can't blame it. Like the transmissions were getting super hot.
I know. I joke, but
they had 10 days of getting beat on.
Yeah, literally 10 days, 8 hours, 10 hours a day of just nonstop drifting on a stock car. It's like We talked about that before the event, and we're like, do you think that they'll put like a new like diff in the back or a new transmission? They're like, no, I think they're just gonna run them. It's like,
if they can last that for nonstop abuse, they'll be fine for the street.
Exactly.
I want to ask you a question, and I usually don't ask Facebook or Instagram questions until that moment, but I'm going to ask you because it did pop up. I don't want to lose it. But Dominic Goad asked, what has been your lowest point in your drifting career, and how did you bounce back? Which we don't, sometimes we always hear about like the success and all these cool stories, but what was like the point where like, man, this is miserable?
I've had, honestly, probably my low, and I wouldn't even say that this is my lowest, right?
Right.
But it was tough because I try to forget that stuff and move on. But I've had a lot of like low points with the S14, but this year in the Corvette. I was at my buddy Joey's shop prepping the car before Atlanta. And we had a bunch to do to the car between Orlando and Atlanta. New car stuff, changing this, making this better. I worked basically for 2 days straight, like flew out early, slept 4 hours in between the 2 days, was hammering out on the car. And then right before we were going to load the car in the trailer the plan was load the car in the trailer, get a couple hours of sleep, head to Atlanta in the morning. I took the car down the street, and the diff exploded. And I'm really glad that I did take it down the street. I'm not glad that the diff exploded, but I'm glad that it exploded there, right? Because it gave me time. And the next series of events and what I went through wouldn't have happened if I would have just loaded the car in the trailer. If I take it down the street, I kick the clutch in 4th gear, the diff explodes. And at this point, I haven't received my spare diff yet, because we're only a couple of races in. I didn't think I was going to need a spare right away. It was just, budget, time, everything came into play for this, right? I should have had a spare diff. That is stupid not to, but there were reasons why I didn't. So we bring the car back, we pull the diff out, and we kind of did it in a haggard way because to properly pull a diff or a transmission in the Corvette, you have to drop the entire subframe out, the torque tube, the exhaust, like everything. It's a ton of work. So we kind of just like disassembled the diff in the subframe and took pieces out to find out what was broken because we still wanted to have the car roll. Right? All right, it's the ring and pinion. It's bad news. We can't get one right now. We don't have time to get one. So we are going to load the car up, go to sleep for a couple hours, wake up in the morning, first thing, 6 o'clock in the morning, and start making phone calls. Call everybody in the area. They don't have one. And we're in right near Charlotte. So that's like racing headquarters. We figured we'd be able to get a ring and pinion for this thing, no problem. Assemble it, would be good to go. But in the Corvette, it's a little bit different because the quick change is upside down. So the ring and pinion is on the other side of the diff. So there wasn't what I needed available. So I get on the phone with Winters and Ray from MA Motorsports, and everyone's trying to make something happen for me. And the short end of the story of what happened was we loaded the car in the trailer, headed out to Atlanta, went to a friend's shop there and took the car apart and waited for the diff to arrive. And how the diff arrived is that Ray from MA Motorsports sent one of their friends to Winters, which isn't very far from their shop, like an hour and a half, to pick up the diff and drive it to Vaughn. And Vaughn brought the diff on the airplane with him. Jeez. And then brought it to his hotel in Road Atlanta. I drove out to his hotel, picked up the diff at midnight, and brought it back to the shop where we began working on the car Wednesday night at like 12:30 to put on the diff. And not only did Vaughn actually bring that diff for me, while he was at the airport, they were like,
hold on, Sam. Go ahead. No, Matt, go ahead.
At the airport, he's like, because it's like 100 pounds is like the overweight baggage limit, right? Like we already knew we were going to have to pay for overweight baggage. And this thing was like 103 pounds. And the guys weren't about to let him check it. So Vaughn opens up the diff, borrows an adjustable wrench from the guys at the airport, takes off the rear cover, boxes it back up, puts the rear cover in his backpack to make the maximum weight limit, and made it happen, brought it on the airplane for me. But yeah, crazy.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And,
superhero.
I was gonna say,
that Vaughn guy sounds like a terrible person.
Yeah. Keep going, Matt. Let the story ride.
So then we get the diff, we get it in the car, we're putting it back together. It's like 4:30 a.m. at this point. And then to get the car, we sent the rig to go park because there's no way we're going to park the next day on Thursday, practice day. We get the rig there and we go back, get like 2 or 3 hours of sleep, go to the shop, load the car up, take it to the track on like an open trailer from one of the guys who works at the shop, show up to the track, still have some stuff to do to the car, finish those things. My entire team is exhausted. I have like 4 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep maybe, and we go into Thursday practice. And Thursday practice is going pretty good. I'm feeling all right. I'm still tired as shit, but I'm doing my thing. And then the worst thing ever happens. I fucking wad my shit into the one wall that you're not supposed to hit in Atlanta. And literally, I crashed because I just had I just got lost for a second. I was following Forrest. I made my transition, and instead of just instincts kicking in and doing what I'm supposed to do, I just kind of waited and hesitated, and that hesitation sent
probably because you're tired,
smashed into the wall. Yeah, exactly. I was running on 3.5, 4 hours of sleep, and I crashed my car. Probably the hardest crash that I've had. I definitely had a concussion. I didn't tell anybody that at the time, but I was woozy. I was sick to my stomach. I was exhausted. I was trying to go to sleep, but I knew that I couldn't. I was like, my vision was blurry. And that's the biggest thing is like my vision was blurry and I was sick to my stomach for like the next 12 or 14 hours or something like that. I didn't tell anybody. But we just,
that's just no joke,
went
man.
After the weekend. Oh, and then after crashing on Thursday, we have to take the car to a frame rack because, it's bent just enough. And we got offered the frame rack and I'm like, all right, we either do it now or it's not going to get done until the car comes all the way back. Like, let's just do it now. So then we fix the car at the track, get it rolling, go to the frame rack, and we're there at the frame rack until 1 or 2 in the morning. And then that's like, 5 nights in a row where me and the team got 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep. And it was, I wouldn't say it's a low point because like we all handled it very well, but that was the most tiring and disappointing and very, very hard to get through, right? Like you just crash your brand new drift car. And the only reason why is because I was tired. Like if I wasn't tired, I wouldn't have made that mistake. It was Thursday practice. I was taking it easy. I was cruising. I was chilling. It should not have been a problem. And I did. And I definitely hurt myself and hurt the car and the team was dead. So that was a very, very hard point in my career.
Well, next time, hopefully you tell one of the paramedics that you may be concussed, because that shit's no joke.
No, but do you know what it is? Outside of that, it just shows the passion of competition and not stopping for nothing. There's people out there that would break an arm and still go out there.
Well, break an arm is very different than a head injury.
Well, I'm just saying for an example. I think it's relative to a lot of sports. You look at these boxers and MMA fighters who probably
put me back in, coach.
go through something similar, but the idea is just the passion of competition, and it doesn't matter what is happening to me. I'm going to go out there, and we usually say life or death. And for some reason, a lot of people who look at this...
but there's something in between, though. There's also being mentally debilitated these days. I don't know if you listen to you listen to Joe Rogan every now and then, right, Corey?
Absolutely, all the time.
Yeah.
Like hearing Dale Earnhardt Jr. tell his story a couple weeks ago. That was pretty insane. Like he got concussed from a wall accident, and it ended his career.
Yeah,
so it's like
absolutely.
If you hit a little bit harder, it could have ended your career if you untreated
100%.
that stuff. Thankfully, it didn't happen. I just want all the Pro-Am drivers that hit walls and all the Pro 2 drivers and everyone and just whoever that hits walls and your head feels funny. go get it checked out, man.
I agree with that.
Concussions are no joke. Matt Field is a maniac, of course, and that is something to be applauded. But also, if your head hurts, go get it checked out. But I want everyone to make sure they know that.
No,
Hold on, I hear "Take on Me" in the background. Who's got that? Is that your shot, Matt? Is someone playing Aha?
Take on me.
And another point from that story is we bring up the camaraderie and the beauty of the drift world, of course, and Vaughn has no incentive to help you other than just he's being a bro and helping out a bro.
Yeah,
that's pretty. That he brought that diff and went through the drama of finding a crescent wrench and unscrewing the plate to make it 2 pounds less.
Yeah.
Also, fuck airlines.
He could have just called me and been like, "Bro, it's too heavy. Got to get my flight. Sorry."
Yeah, later.
You know.
And that would have been your weekend right there. Yeah, no, that's it. But that weekend just definitely shows up once again. And the only reason I say life or death is because people have so much passion for what we do that you almost put everything else on the back burner because what we're doing is almost more important than, that moment. I don't know. I don't want to say it's more important than life. Yeah, I was going to say it's more important than life because you sacrifice your life for this to be where you're at, so you're willing to give it all to continue to keep going. And as dumb as that sounds, I think that's what creates the drive. And I think when you step foot to accept that you're a motorsports athlete, you have to know that there's risk involved and that because your team will never give up on you and you'll never give up on your team. And there's a lot of secrets that you kind of keep to yourself. And I'm sure there's a lot of secrets your team keeps from you because the passion is there. You know what I mean? And it's dumb to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that is showing just the passion and drive to continue to keep doing and growing. Sam is absolutely right. If you knock your head, you should absolutely get yourself checked out. But once again, it just shows this crazy level of passion of what it takes. And someone can just say, "I'm not giving up. I don't life or death, dude. I'm going down my ship." Or So it's
exactly.
That's
exactly.
Before we get to Instagram questions, Josh, what you got, Josh?
Oh yeah, actually no. I heard that Matt Field actually has a question for Josh.
Matt Field, what do you got?
Go ahead and ask questions. See
how it feels, Matt. See how it is?
Backfired.
Now we're both in the same boat. Let's just paddle away.
Yeah.
Sorry to let you think about it for a second. I accidentally called you Joey, Josh, because I was thinking about NASCAR because of Dale, and Joey Logano won. That's pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
Sam, you're becoming such a NASCAR fan.
A little bit, only because I've worked with Joey. I've literally never worked with another NASCAR driver.
Really?
All right. Well, worked with Joey.
Tell me something. And, which direction do they turn?
Pass.
Use your body call.
Always turn left, baby. You never not turn left.
Turn left. All right.
I think my mom, who you saw a second ago on the podcast, she calls Joey her other son. She's into NASCAR heavily, and she was more excited for Joey's championship win than probably anything she's ever been excited for in my life. So I just want to throw that out there.
Can't blame her.
Yeah, she's like my son Sam's a dud, but my boy Joey.
I mean, how many NASCAR championships do I have?
Yep.
Not a lot.
Yep.
All right, Matt, time's up. Who you got?
So, what do you got for Josh here?
All right, Josh. Do you currently drive a drift car or any kind of racing? And if you do, or whether you do or you don't, what is your choice of car, or what do you want? You want a NASCAR? You want a badass drift car? What kind of NASCAR? What kind of drift car? What?
Oh boy,
man,
classic Matt Field question.
Matt needs to work on his question if he's going to be replacing you, Sam. But
you're up for a treat, bro.
So I do actually drive an S13 right now, coupe. It is all caged, and I mean, I guess it would be considered Pro-Am ready. I think Paco's putting up a picture of it right there. Yeah. So I do drive. I do it just as the passion for it. I don't compete in any series right now. I just haven't really kind of really had the drive for that kind of stuff. But I do love the sport itself. I love going to a lot of the fun events that are put on by a lot of different people and just doing kind of different style events instead of your regular
consistent drift event.
Yeah, consistent drift events. So, so that's my car there. I did start out with hatch way back in the day. One of my buddies got me into it. started going to a lot of the local drift events here and kind of just stuck with me. So it's been like, I think 8 years that I've been kind of out there. So, yeah, that's, I mean, I don't think I'm going to be
What
competing,
engine? What engine do you have?
It has a 1JZ VVTi. So that's the power plant. It's pretty much stock.
What body kit?
Oh, Paco.
It's a super doof.
Super doof.
Yeah.
Like super Koguchi.
Yeah,
doof.
and the fenders are Koguchi. I got them from overnighted from Japan.
Oh,
it was pretty sick.
Konnichiwa.
Then I got.
It's so funny, like obviously growing up and seeing Koguchi power fenders with an S chassis, that's like all you've ever wanted, right? And then I show up to D1 China and they're like, "Oh yeah, Koguchi's your teammate. He's driving this other car, the other 8.6." So I'm like, "Whoa, holy shit!" Like idolizing him and those fenders and everything, and then he's just like some crusty old man who still gets down as hell in a drift car.
Crusty old. Have you had a chance to spend some time and talk with him about stuff like that? I know obviously there's probably a language barrier, but have you like fanboyed with him a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the first round last year that we were like officially teammates and whatnot, I was asking him all kinds of questions and just like telling him how much, I looked up to him, especially in my early days and everything. And it's so funny. Like most Japanese people are very modest, and he's like extremely modest because, I'm like, "You're a gangster, you have no idea how gangster everybody thinks you are in the US." And he's like, "Oh, no. Crap, shit driver. Like, but he's totally like a free spirit. He has a nickname that basically translates like to the Nightman. Like he's the guy who just like parties all night, like can drink and get shit faced and then go drive a drift car and still throw down.
That's the man right there.
He's definitely like one that goes down in infamy, one of those D1 drivers for sure.
Dude, that story makes it so much better. Yeah. So you have the night Koguchi party animal, probably stayed up all night, binge drinking.
That's how he made my fenders.
That's how he made your fenders.
Yeah. He was up all night, just sauced up. And he's like, what would be great? Just having these super wide fenders that have that just it looks so good.
But once again, I think that's the way it goes to, just crazy where the sport can take you. One day you're dreaming about this dude's fenders, and the next day you're like, what? That dude's like, it's crazy what doors open up once you start digging in and really want to be passionate and getting involved with it. And obviously the other thing, once again, talking about humble people, Josh actually runs Desert Meihan out here. I don't know if you've ever heard of that event, but Josh, as a very passionate person with drifting, he felt that there should be more drifting out here in Arizona and took it upon himself to put resources together to hold this very, very exciting event out in Arizona. So I think so many people, even though you're not a pro driver, everybody has a way to contribute something to the series or to drifting itself. And so I think fans, athletes, drivers, whatever it is, everybody contributes something. So yeah, Josh is, we actually have Desert Meihan coming up very soon, but Josh has been
1 week, week and a half. Yeah.
So one day, hopefully next year, you'll be able to come out to that and party down with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there was even people saying like, make it happen.
Oh yeah,
make it happen. Desert Meihan 3. So
you're not busy, are you, Matt?
Never, right? Never.
Always out of party.
Pick a weekend that I'm free,
Well, it's a good place to come out and get crusty and drink beers with your friends too. So you could be like a mini Koguchi.
Yeah, just I heard you want
crusty in the AZ.
There you go.
I can't wait till you're a crusty old man, Matt, and we're gonna call you that.
Crusty
Oh, it's so
Crusty,
funny.
Matt.
I think I was talking with Di in Texas because I think it was his birthday, right? And I was like, "How old are you?" And then he said, "However old he was." I was like, "God damn, Di, God damn!" And he was like, "I know, bro. I know. Fuck, man. I'm old. I'm too old for this shit." And I was like, "Di," and I like got real. I'm like, "No, Di. Let me like for real. I'm a firm believer that with drifting, it's not like certain sports where your reaction gets so shit, like Formula One, where you just can't drive anymore. You're too old for this, or like NASCAR, where you've had too many concussions and you have to retire. Like there are old Japanese drift drivers who are getting down well into their 40s." And most of the best Japanese drivers are all in their 40s right now.
Yeah.
The guys who are still killing it and holding it down and winning events and everything are old, crusty dudes who have.
You don't think your reaction
in
time?
it.
slows down though? Like I feel like I haven't been racing in a while and I haven't been drifting in a while too, but it's like I feel like I was sharper when I was 18. Like, do you feel that?
Honestly, I just feel like drifting, and this is what I said to Dai, because he was like, but the reaction and everything else. And I think that in drifting, it's not about making split second random decisions, right? It's based off of experiences and what you know, and your body just kind of automatically doing it. I feel like in a road race car or Formula One, you have to decide, do I go left or right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in drifting, I feel like the more time you have in the car, the more your body just already automatically knows what to do. So I think that doesn't go away.
I mean, if you think about it, for example, when it comes to reaction, John Force, he's 69 today.
Yeah.
He's still fucking, I mean.
John Force, the fastest man on four.
Yeah, he still won championships, 5 years ago.
That's just smashing the go pedal, though.
Well, but I mean, that takes,
it's
like,
reaction time.
Talks to reaction, like, that's the reaction game.
Yeah, I mean, that of course plays into it and good for
Cruz
Force,
Pedregon's up there too, Sam, and you've worked with him.
I know.
Yeah.
It's definitely is an aspect. Maybe it's just because I work too hard and don't sleep enough and all that shit. But I don't know.
You're just a grumpy young man, Sam.
I just feel like when I was drifting the Arizona Toge when I was a young lad, the reaction time, the twitch muscle of just doing little moves on the road, the mountain road, felt faster. But yeah, I guess a lot of it is instinctual, and there's something about the flow of drifting that I think
what's happening, Sam, is that
different.
Before you used to drift every month. Now you're drifting like once a year.
Terrible. Well, who knows what's going to happen in the next few times.
And it's also a big difference. Like, you drift for fun here and there, right? Where guys like Dai and a lot of the Japanese drivers are drifting for their jobs. That is their life consistently, right? And it's also a different level, right? Like, just your decisions that you make are within your skill set, right? And your skill set may only be so big, where a guy like Dai has a giant list
a lot
of
of room to catch up to be close to me.
Now, what do you think the difference is between your time drifting and his? That do you guys like? Have you spent a lot? Like, what is your drifting time frame? Like throughout the month, how many times you drive? What's your training?
So I had a time where I was this year where I was racing, I think 8 weeks in a row. 8 weeks in a row. And in that 8 weeks, I figured that I spent more time in a driver's suit than I did in my normal clothes this year.
If you think about it, just real quick, coming back to the age and all that, Kumakubo is 48.
Yep.
And he's still
crusty. We're all crusty. We're all crusty.
Kumakubo doesn't compete anymore, but the fellow Team Orange guy, Suinaga, he still competes in D1 Japan and D1 China, and he is a crusty old fuck, and that guy is a badass. Like, he impresses the hell out of me. The shit that I see him do in that car blows my mind, and he's old as shit.
Crusty old fuck, and he is badass. That's gonna be in the back of his DVD.
It should be.
All right, let's hit up some Instagram questions.
Yeah.
Let's start it right up. AM intakes. What are your thoughts on Paco's 2J vet build?
I like the vet. I'm not a fan of a 2J, but I don't dislike it because it has a 2J. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
What do you have against 2Js?
Yeah.
You had one in your car this weekend.
For example, for those of you who don't know, I had both this weekend, and let me tell you, the 2J sucks.
At least I have a 1J, so that's like half the hatred, right?
Yeah, you have 2 times the hate if you.
But Matt, do you appreciate you understand better than I think most drivers the importance of marketing and the effect on fans and all that. People don't want to see more LSs and drift cars. 2Js, whether or not they're a better competitive motor, Paco's not going to be competitive. He's trying to build a sweet show car that also drifts. Like, do you think 2J is cooler for that purpose?
And that's the thing. I don't really care. Right? Whatever makes power.
Oh, you hear that, Paco? He doesn't care.
I know. Don't care about me.
So it doesn't matter that he doesn't care.
It's interesting.
He hates it,
do you know what I mean?
Well, what I want to say is he finds it. I find it interesting that he says he doesn't enjoy driving 2Js, but 2Js were first and third in points, and I think 2Js kind of ran almost the top of the bracket this year. But what makes you like it, and then what do you think makes other people like it? Like, obviously there's ups and downs, but what do you feel is the big downfall to having the 2J when other people
like an actual constructive opinion? Yeah. What is it that you don't enjoy?
Right.
Because obviously it's been successful the past 2 years.
Right. No, they are great engines. I just see, especially for like my car with the Corvette, right? It comes with an LS. So it just makes sense to keep it LS. LS doesn't have the lag. And the biggest thing is the lag. And the lag is definitely something that you can learn to drive with, right? Yeah. Absolutely. But when you drive something with lag and without lag, you're kind of like, why would I choose to drive with lag? The upside to a 2J is, though, that you can make a lot more power with a lot less money than an LS, right? LS is you're kind of like, you're stuck at 500 to 600 horsepower, and that's that, unless you do something big, supercharger, nitrous, a crazy expensive NA build, where a 2J, you can, make that kind of power with a very, very basic engine. So I definitely see the upsides to it. It's just, if I had my choice, I would always choose something with less lag. And something that's kind of funny, like I was talking to Gucci, because he drove Frederick's, the blue Toyota street car. Yeah. And he's like, that thing with no nitrous has less lag than my 2J with nitrous. So, goddamn. That's just
the Papadakis wizardry.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. It's just 2J is it's an old engine at this point. Not that an LS is like some magic new wizardry by any means, but I think that there's a lot better engines out there, and in the near future, we're going to see those starting to come in a lot more. But there's no hate.
But the
on
price
2J.
to engineer them,
don't like it.
Right.
The price to engineer a better engine to make the same amount of power.
Fair assumption.
Who knows over the years, right? Only time will tell.
Yeah, fair assumption. Here's one. This is Jules of Proper Line, and they asked, "What's up with Daigo and Koguchi crash at D1?"
that was a weird crash.
So Daigo just misjudged it completely.
He's been drinking a lot lately.
What I think happened is Daigo realized he was bumping into Koguchi, let off the throttle, the anti-lag took over, and just kept pushing him into him, because you see that he didn't like back out after he hit, but you hear the anti-lag go off. So I think he realized he hit him, let off the throttle, and the anti-lag just like kept making power or something, because he didn't really slow down all that much. And normally, if you let off the throttle, at least that's going to he's going to get detached from your bumper. So I think it was just the initial misjudgment on the turn in, and then his car kind of just ran.
What caused it? Like, was it like a tie rod?
Did you watch it?
Or, yeah.
Oh, no, Daigo just turned into him. Turned in early.
Oh, like he tried like to turn behind him?
That's what it looked like on the surface level, but I thought it was much more complex than that, and it really wasn't.
Here's one of the things, like I said, remember how I complain about certain stuff in D1, and they're like, no, it's fine how it is. They put the lead driver on the inside of a corner, and the follow driver, it's just reverse, right, of how it should be in every track. But their reason behind that is that the lead driver has to take a tighter line, and the follow driver is going to have a looser line so that they can have more speed. But then you have the problem of stuff like what happens with Daigo, or where the lead driver wants to cross over, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And also in D1, you have to do a nose to tail initiation. You can't initiate next to somebody. You have to do nose to tail. So when you're forced to do a nose to tail entry, you want to be right on the dude's rear bumper when you initiate. So it's all about getting a good run out of the corner from the start, and Daigo just was on a tear to get a run and misjudged it a little bit.
All right. So I got one more. Yeah, this is from Harry Throat 43.
Oh wait.
Is that a real name?
I think Matt's flushing the toilet.
Yep. All right. So Harry Throat 43 wants to ask: were you truly phased when Denofa threw backy on you at St. Louis?
Hell no. I was just laughing in my helmet, thinking to myself, what an idiot. I got this battle sealed up.
Yeah, because last time we had him, I was like, I just was going to go out there and I was going to throw a phase down on Matt to phase him out.
No, all I did, I saw him go backwards. I pulled the handbrake, and it was just like, you idiot. I won for sure.
Yep.
You just ruined it. But his run was awesome.
It was all right. He got.
They look super boss.
No, but you know what's funny is that's the competitor's mind. Did Denofa think he was already out and just wanted to try phasing? Yeah. Is that what it was? Denofa thought he already lost it.
No, Denofa said he already lost, so he's like, I'm gonna
try to phase him right here. That was so he had a stretch. Which Denofa was doing once again. Denofa's a thinker, man. Once again, driving through the water at Long Beach, he already knew he was out. Trying to phase Matt. Like he's a quick dude, but
which honestly, I think Denofa and Matt are two of my absolute favorite drivers right now because they're both don't give a fuck drivers. Which is like, and they both give very many fucks, but it's still just the attitude that they both have is ridiculous. You're both a bunch of animals. One of my favorite questions I've seen a long time on Instagram, XSV219 asks, do you want to see pictures of my dog?
Wow, that's a great question.
I could care less.
Wow, foul.
I love it. I love it. That's Matt Field, though. That's it.
Strike two right there, man.
That's it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
All right, I'm going to pull it back to the seriousness.
Okay, Josh.
Ready?
Josh
Straight
has
face.
got one.
All right, so...
Who's asking the question?
Oh, okay. I lost it here.
Yogurt Slinger.
You can make one up.
Max Frolic.
Okay, Max is a common first-time caller, first-time listener.
If you couldn't build a C6, would have been your next choice for another chassis?
Don't say C5, motherfucker. That's a cop-out.
Or an S14, you retard.
I'm just wanting to see it like a C7 or something.
Well,
that's a good question.
Definitely my preferred choice would have been a C7. It was just a little bit like the price was too much and having to do everything else. But I mean, if we're talking about not building a Corvette, what else would I build?
Yes,
I would have probably chosen probably an E92 because I really like Kristaps' car, and it comes down to I love Kevlar now. Like once I've used it, I love it, and there's not a lot of Kevlar options for stuff. So I would probably choose an E92 because I can get all that goodies from Kristaps.
Dude, speaking of which, Kristaps' new GT86, the Rhino, that thing looks sick. Anyways, sorry, my rant's over.
That's not a rant.
That was short-lived.
I have a question here from Mfrex. Any big changes to the Vet for next season, and also need a new tune? For those who don't know, he makes those tiny little cartoony cars.
Oh,
yeah.
I was gonna say, of course
I'm definitely gonna have him do the car for next year with any of the updated stuff that I do, whether I change wheels or add a wing or sponsor change or whatever that might be. What was his initial question?
Actual like changes.
Any changes?
For the car,
yeah. So there's gonna be a couple of things. I might change a couple of things on the engine. Just making small improvements, maybe things that were a little bit difficult to work on, stuff like that. I want to make some changes to the rear suspension to see if we can make the car even faster. I'm thinking about a GT wing, maybe. But then again, it's also a pain in the ass. I'm going to take it on, so I don't know. I talked a little bit about I need to change the catch can for the dry sump system because it wasn't big enough. And there's not a whole lot. Oh, the biggest thing is that all my suspension up until this point was all hand built in San Diego from Part Shop Max. Nick is the head fabricator at Part Shop Max, and he did all the welding. Everything is hand TIG welded in-house in San Diego. And in the future, all of that stuff is going to be production. So Part Shop Max production facility is in Taiwan, and all of that stuff is going to be transferred over, changed to the production run of items, because as great as it is to built in the USA, by Part Shop Max, it also is very time consuming, very expensive. And every time I crash, I'm relying on one dude to make me parts instead of a factory of people. Right. So it's going to be great knowing, to be completely honest, I don't feel bad when I crash and rip off a corner. It sucks, but I feel bad for him having to, spend all that time fabricating all those new arms. And probably the biggest change is in the front knuckle design. There's going to be a big improvement on how the tie rod connects to it and the adjustability with Ackerman and steering speed and all of that stuff. So that's going to be a big up. a couple of different sway bar options. Right now, I was kind of limited on rear sway bar options, so I'm going to have a couple new options with that. And
that's already a lot of stuff.
I think that's pretty much it.
I was gonna say,
and it's really not, like it's really not that much stuff. It's a lot of thinking, it's not a lot of like, oh, let's change everything.
Yeah,
it's a lot of
the original
thinking and trying.
The original recipe worked pretty good, so it's just fine tuning.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
That's the plan, at least.
I have a question here from Film by Taylor, which I believe you're gonna say. I think I know what's gonna be your answer, but it's asking Forza or Assetto Corsa.
I never played Assetto Corsa. I hear that it's sick, but Forza, because I've never played the other thing.
And you also got your car featured in Forza.
Yeah, yeah. Corey, that shit was insane to literally walk in to the whole shindig that you guys threw at SEMA and see 6 of my S14 up on the screen.
Matt Field after Matt Field. For some reason, all the drivers chose that, and that was the funniest part. I don't know if you heard us on the mic. I know it's pretty loud in there, but Corey and I were like, all right, looks like this Matt Field is going after this Matt Field. It felt very Rick and Morty-ish, like talking about all the Matt Fields going after each other.
Nice.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And then to see Vaughn choose my car to play in the game was
Dude, I don't... The thing is, you don't spend much time on it, but I think... I'll tell you the most surreal moment for me is when I first put the game on my Xbox and I started up and I joined a random lobby and there was 1 or 2 other people just driving my car. I'm like, this is cool. This is awesome. And yeah, obviously your experience, but no, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool, man. It's forever embedded in the video game for the history of video games. So pretty cool stuff. Yep. My last question, and this is we're going on a stretch here. This is from Homer Sorry. What kind of crop would you plant if you were a farmer?
Oh my God, these questions are really good.
They're good tonight. Yeah. So that was my last one.
Congrats on the questions, guys. I really want to say thank you.
All the stuff you really want to know.
So I'm kind of torn with this answer, to be completely honest with you, because as a business owner and a business person, I would want to plant the crop that yields the most money.
Medicinal marijuana.
I'm no, and that's really not right. That's not it. It's like it's something stupid. It's like hay and it's grain, right? Like grain to feed cattle is the number one thing, right? That's the most beneficial, wealthy producing crop or something along those lines. But I'm kind of weird in that, like, I watch economic documentaries on Netflix a lot.
Good.
I'm nerd out on that stuff.
Boring.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why I'm super into it. And I like watching stuff about like the water wars and how California uses its water. And then that leads to like how food is produced. And then I watch the documentary on all these crazy cow stuff. And like, I dig myself deep into these odd, weird holes. But I would want to produce something that benefits people, giving them like food and nourishment before I would just making the most money, because the crops that make the most money are also the crops that use the most water, which is super, super bad for California. Like, because you know how big the growing plants and that all is in California.
What is it, like walnuts or
get used? I don't know.
No, like I forget. It's one of the nuts that uses like a ridiculous amount of water to just get one fucking nut.
Yeah, and like. It was so funny. Before all this, I was a firm believer, like, I'm not going to water my grass. I'm not going to wash my car that often. I'm going to take short showers. I'm going to shut off the faucet when I brush my teeth.
You're going to poop in a bucket.
All of that. And then, you actually figure out that what you do is nothing because of all the water that you wasteful crops. And you're like, oh, well, what's the point of doing it? So I wouldn't want to grow something that's wasteful with like that. I would want to grow something that's the best for humanity, which is probably like fruit and vegetables or something.
I used to feel a little bit of guilt about putting like a test pipe on my car and get rid of my cat so I could have more power. And it's like, oh man, I should really put a catalytic converter back in my car to really make this better for the environment. And then I learned it's like, every single car in the world is like 7% of emissions gases, and the 20 gigantic freighter ships are like 10%, and the rest are all factories. So it's like, oh, like you how fucking dare you? The world for making me feel bad for making my race car a race car when I account for almost literally nothing as far as greenhouse is concerned, and drifting as a whole too. It's like those tires are going to the atmosphere. What do you think about that? It's like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, Sam, that's the Sam I love.
The emissions put out by everything else. It's like it is such a blip on the radar compared to a single
Let's start from the top and work
ship.
your way down.
Yeah, I'm gonna burn a tire outside in protest.
Yeah, you're gonna huff
it. It's like one cargo ship traveling once around the world is more emissions than the entirety of every drift event. And don't quote me on that because that's completely just guessing. But it's just like those ships put out so much emissions and
nobody probably put more emissions spraying that spray can of that silver on his face than.
Yeah, that was pretty bad for everyone.
Good job, Sam. That was ozone layer suffering because of your stunt.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other Instagrammers?
I think I'm all wrapped up on questions. Josh, do you have a last one, or that's it? That's a wrap. I think that's a wrap, Sam.
All right, Matt Field, thank you so much for your time with us today. We appreciate it. You
As
have a
always.
very happy Thanksgiving.
Yep.
As always, we'll hopefully talk to you very soon, probably once the next season has started. Can't wait to see the sophomore year of the Corvette. I'm sure you're going to be shredding hard. And good luck with all the things in between now and then.
Don't forget to water your plants, take long showers, and eat your turkey.
Matt, are you on mute? I can't hear you.
He's
Hold
on
on.
mute.
Is he muted?
He muted.
Matt, you're muted.
I think his earbuds died too. That's part of it.
Yeah. We can hear you, Matt, but I guess it's perfect timing.
I can read his lips.
Hey.
He said,
There he is.
There we go. There you go.
He took a snapshot, perv.
Well, thanks. Hopefully you heard us, but thanks again.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, buddy. I'll see you later.
Good to see you, buddy. Have a good one, man.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Let's
right.
confirm. Is he gone?
Let's see. Balls.
Josh, you know what to do from here.
He hung
Josh,
up.
What do you think?
I wonder
Josh,
if
what do you
that.
think
I was
about
going to
that
ask
guess?
him. I forgot to ask him, but I wonder if that beanie really keeps his head warm. That's
I think
my
it
question.
Cuts off his circulation, judging
Yeah,
by the
I
way
think
he's
so, too.
He looks
Josh,
like a beanie baby.
It was
Hold
probably
on.
a lot more
Throw it to Josh.
marketing than.
Yeah, it's probably. I thought it was. I didn't know if his head was really that cold.
He had a striking
Josh.
resemblance to Emilio Estevez.
I thought he looked like Nicolas Cage.
Emilio.
I was gonna segue from the Rick and Morty thing. We all agree that he does look like Morty from Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Heavily.
sounds the same.
Heavily.
Oh, jeez. I'm gonna drive my Corvette. Oh, no.
Paco.
Wow, why didn't you do
Paco
that while
sounds
he
like
was
an
here?
Espanol, Rick and Morty.
Guys
Like,
fought with his boxing gloves.
Morty.
Josh, pimp us out.
Oh,
with,
Josh!
coming up.
Josh is here with us. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
This is awesome. I get used to this. Paco
You're-
usually sits
you're-
so
you're
far
like
away
nice
from me.
and warm,
Yeah,
I
so
mean.
me and Josh can cuddle up over here as we have a compadre now.
But Josh, pimp us out about Desert Meihan. If you are within 5,000 square miles, why should you go to Desert Meihan?
Oh God.
Can I start?
Have you-
Can I
has
start
any-
off? Can I
Yeah,
start off?
yeah,
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 I'll prelude you into this because
A Honda Prelude.
on Honda Prelude.
Favorite
So
car ever.
I'll start off by just saying last year was the first time Desert Meihan has existed on this planet Earth, right? I don't know if it's been held anywhere else in the universe.
Not
Desert-
as desert.
Desert
yeah,
Mayhem. Yeah.
But
But I
Desert
mean-
Meihan was held here last year in
You could
Arizona.
argue that there's alternate universes that have held
Oh,
Desert Meihan.
Rick, I don't know. I'm nervous.
Hooey. I just go to Bill Clinton. Whenever I try to do a Morty voice, I just go, hooey, Rick.
Oh, Mr. President.
Hooey, Mr.
So,
President.
anyways, you guys ruined my
Sorry.
my intro for Josh here, our special guest, and you guys totally blew it out of the water. But going
Can
back
we
to what I was
refund him
saying,
his money or no?
man, it's already
Hell
Laurette
no.
has it. Laurette has it.
Yeah, that's for good cause.
We got to beat
She's-
up Laurette.
Lorette's partying in Europe
Yeah,
without
Laurette's
money.
yeah, Laurette's. It's weird. She gets all the money, then she goes to London. No, she's working for Nitro Circus. But so, anyways, Desert Meihan, first time it ever existed on this planet. It seemed like it popped up very quick, right? So, rolling up to the event, it seems like Desert Meihan popped up. It's like, oh, Desert Meihan seems like a cool little thing. You know, no, not very limited, low expectations. First year, let's just go out there and see what it's about. I remember pulling up to the gate, and there was literally a line out the door. And as you make through the line out the door, you get in, and then there's like 50 of the baddest drift cars from the West Coast here. And you're like, oh, this is kind of
Plus
cool.
extras.
And plus a few special guests, which were literally like Forrest Wayne, Caleb Quambeck,
Even
Yeah,
like,
all the way from Florida.
more skids, Dan Brock. And so like you
Like,
show up and it's like, whoa.
Dan Burkett, like
Yeah, Dan
showed out of
Burkett showed
nowhere.
up.
Hey guys.
And so like all these random strangers showed up, and then it's like, wow, this is already really cool. And then you actually make it to the track, which you're standing on the wall, as if you were at Mehan, and it's the exact same course. and everybody there is shredding, having the most fun of your life. And it was like, this is the first year that this event's been around, and it is just
already
blowing up.
Yeah,
and this is your brainchild.
Yeah, Chris and I, like my partner Chris Orn, when we first like heard the cars actually going, like right after the drivers meeting and the first session goes out, I just remember we'll never stop talking about this. We just looked at each other and we were like,
it's on.
Holy crap!
It's something's
like,
happening.
First freaking session, people are ripping it up, and I'm just like all right, like let's keep this going. And I mean, all day I saw nothing but hugs, smiles, high fives. Everybody's
carnage.
Yeah, just like it was great.
French kissing, regular kissing, Australian kissing,
and that's the craziest
hopefully
thing.
Even
like,
more when you come.
Even when there was like carnage crashes, all kinds of, everybody was like pumped about it. Like even the drivers came out of their cars like, "Whoa, that was great!"
I remember even Bree's car. Like as soon as it happened. There's pictures of her like up on her car.
Yeah, like
almost like, geez, like everybody's just having a blast.
Well, I think what it is there's only a few events that happen here that force you to drive at 10/10ths, right? Yeah. I think if you annually go to your normal drift event, it's very repetitive. It's the same thing. The atmosphere is the same. Even though it's great quality seat time, there's only a few events a year that you go to and it's like, oh, it's on. And for whatever reason, your event forced people to say it's on. And I think being surrounded by the quality of drivers that were there forced every other driver to up their game. Literally. And so that was a very unique thing about this, is being a limited car count. I think, the 50 cars you said?
Yeah.
The 50 cars is, it's like, yes, it's not a competition, but I think everybody gets this internal fire of competition because they want to do the gnarliest wall ride. Or
they just want to be right there with the other driver.
Yeah,
it's crazy how awesome it was.
So it's coming up. It's on December
1st and 2nd. December 1st and 2nd.
2
Saturday
days
and Sunday.
All day.
Well, last year was a 1 day, and it was and for whatever reason, literally as we were doing like the award ceremony, it was like 2 days, and you're like, okay, we listen.
Oh yeah,
we listen.
Yeah, we heard everybody ask it, like especially the people that are coming from out of state to come out here and enjoy something that was like that. All right. Well, hell, let's just do 2 days. That way people get to see, more. Not only that, but the people that work on, Saturdays, they can come out on Sundays, all that stuff. It just made it for a way better idea. And that was all because of the people that, reached out and said something, and we definitely wanted to listen to you guys. So,
what car are you bringing, Corey?
I'll have the boss out there. Obviously last year I wasn't driving, but I was so bent out of shape that I didn't drive. I was like, God, I want to be driving here. It looks so fun. So this year, Josh,
car wasn't ready. So
it was getting there, but it was once again I was trying to scramble to get it done. But I think the wait is worth it because now I get 2 days of it.
Yeah.
I think I would have been like everybody else. I get 1 day, it's like, oh, the hook's set. But now it's like, I start when you guys have 2 days. Yeah.
Josh, you bringing your car?
Oh yeah,
gotta be driving because here's the other thing. Josh's car is a very nice, pristine car. It's no trailer queen. That car goes places, gets slid. Like you were tandeming with Forrest last year. I mean, like you drive that car hard.
I try to keep it off the wall a little bit, but I start following another driver, and this is what you were saying. People were getting out there, and then you just want to be right there with those guys, and you push yourself harder. I mean, like my car stays clean because of the conservative way I drive it, just like we were talking about with Matt. I'm not a competition driver. I like going out in exhibitions.
But you're still driving hard.
But what makes you drive harder?
What I call everybody that's driving is troublemakers because they're influencing the other person to do bad things. Literally, everybody that drives there is a troublemaker, and you guys are trying to make me do bad things. And guess what? I'm probably going to do them because you guys are all bad influences. Every single one, every driver out there is bad influences.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we have somebody who can't keep a car off.
Brian
the wall.
That's where he got his name too.
Big Balls.
Yeah.
Big Balls was definitely born. He was born before because he came out with giant balls as a baby. I remember when he was born as a baby. They thought his mom thought she was having twins, but it was actually Brian's huge nutsack that she gave birth to first. Then Brian was actually the second born. But yeah, he definitely used them out there in Paco's borrowed car, which then Paco graciously gifted Brian because Paco couldn't drive it after that.
Yeah, I was it was disrespectful to that car. You know, it was like
it's like Paco got a girlfriend Paco got a girlfriend and let Brian borrow her for the day, and she didn't want to go back.
The way
to Paco.
The way I saw it is like that song from 9 Inch Nails, "Hurt," that Johnny Cash eventually did a cover, and then Trent Reznor say like that guy owned that song. From now on, that song is his. I'm never playing it anymore. That's his song. That's exactly the same way I saw it. It's like, dude, like there's no way I can do better than that. So that's his car.
Make it sound like it was your choice.
It was my choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know the car chose Brian.
Oh, there you go. Oh, I see what. The car chose Brian. It was his aura. Yeah. But I'm bringing a new vehicle this time, Corey.
Oh, what are you gonna bring?
The Dolphin.
Oh, you're taking the Dolphin out.
The Dolphin's gonna be there. So
that's a nice thing about
still making the Dolphin noises.
I hope so. I mean, that's kind of like it's.
Well, hold on, let's hear Paco's best Dolphin noise.
Oh my lord!
Pretty good.
Wow, he's hurting.
My lord!
Is there a dolphin in that room with
Paco just released a
bunch
of air out of his
is like a dolphin.
Don't you see? We're all wet from the splashing.
Paco shaved his whole body and just breathing out of his blowhole.
Would you mind sticking your finger in Paco's blowhole real quick? Tell me how it feels.
Yeah. Oh,
moist.
Yeah. Let me see.
Very moist.
Man, it feels like it just doesn't so deep. It just doesn't stop. So the nice thing you're bringing out the Dolphin because it's a 2-day show. There is camping at the track this weekend, which that's going to be scary too and awesome at the same time. Yeah. Because it's going to be
scary.
It's going to be scary. I'm telling you, Sam, I'm terrified of events now because of the people that are there and what they do to me. They bring out this evil spirit in me that just makes me want to do bad things.
We're encouraging onesies at night, by the way.
Well,
I know you had a couple.
It's it started once again going to the Hoonigan thing at SEMA, doing these donuts and burnouts. It's super cool. But first guy goes, second guy goes, third guy goes, catches car on fire, fourth guy goes, catches car on fire, crashes in the wall. All right, you're the last guy. What are you gonna do?
Step it up.
Yep. And that's what these events do. Everybody goes so hard, then it gets to the last session. Everybody's like,
"But that's the spirit of it."
I know. I love it. I love it.
Instead of sitting in line, I mean, like every event is great. Every single event is great. The time that you get to sit and drive, awesome. But then you go to these party events, and just have a blast doing it and push yourself even harder. Especially it's the end of the season. You can rebuild the car.
Just go.
I mean, come on.
No, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Yeah. But I think that's what gives me that adrenaline rush and like the butterflies. Like going out to Logo, I don't get butterflies. This is like very repetitive, same thing. But this is like, oh god, I'm gonna freaking do this.
Sam, are you coming?
I'm not coming this year.
Why?
It's been heavy.
Wait till Josh hears about
this. Next year, I'm going to have a working, awesome party S14, and I will do everything in my power to make it there.
So you can't just come in and hang out with us?
Yeah, Sam. What do we need to do? Like a GoFundMe to get a flight for Sam? Like, what do we need to do?
Unfortunately, it's not about money. It's about time, baby.
So you don't want to make time for us.
Yeah, you don't want to make time for us.
We get it.
On the bottom. Brian's already crying. Paco's still breathing out of his bowl. Me and Josh are just very sad. So
yeah, I think I'm filming probably. So that's showbiz, baby.
Oh yeah, baby.
Well, show must go on.
That's showbiz, baby.
I mean, you could always film Desert Meihan.
Yeah,
and
you
be
can
there.
showbiz
and film still.
I bet your mom will be there. I'm watching your mom. She looks so glorious in the back. She'll probably be there, but you won't.
My mom's here for Thanksgiving. Hold on, real talk. Did our special guest Matt Field use the same analogy, or did he sugarcoat it?
Oh, he uses the same one. Yeah, literally
straight up.
He mentioned holding his dinger.
Yeah, He said it was like driving his Corvette's like using his dick, and then the other one's like driving somebody's dick with punching bags and gloves.
And your mom said that driving her S2000
felt
from now on is gonna feel just the same way.
Yeah, your mom's gonna start driving her S2000 with her dick, which I told her not to say that out loud, but.
Yep. I mean, that sounds wonderful.
Impressive.
All right, beautiful.
I've got to start prepping things.
Yeah, I think we're gonna start doing the same here and get rolling. But obviously, we gotta.
Josh,
yes.
Where can we find you? Where can we find your events?
Yeah,
social media.
Yep, social media. So we have it on Facebook. Everything's on there. Desert Meihan 2. The Track Society.
How do you spell it?
Desert Meihan.
M. As in
E.
as M as in
Mary.
As in M&M.
M as in Mary.
E.
I.
As in hold on. E as in
Echo.
I as in
Ismael.
As in me.
H.
H as in ham. Horse.
A. As in
alphabet.
A is an A. N as in
Nancy.
Nice.
Right. That's cool. Desert Meihan.
Number 2.
December
at
first.
And second.
First and second.
And we'll also post about it too. We'll post a link up.
Yeah.
I have Josh made a sweet picture of me that we'll post on our Driftcast.
Okay, that's why you want to post it. It's a sweet picture of you.
Yeah. For sure. That's why.
So follow you at the Track Society on Instagram.
Yep.
And Desert Meihan too will post about it. And also, once again, thank you for contributing to Laurette's deal and being part of that. That was super awesome, super special. That little bit went a very long way, so thank you for that. And then obviously you can come back on the show anytime you want. Lastly, our sponsors.
Let's talk about it. First, let's start. Since we are in the Thanksgiving spirit, let's give thanks.
Yep.
Starting by thanking our Patreon.
Hey.
So Patreon, thank you guys. We still owe them full Spanish episode.
Yeah, I've been thinking about who's going to be the right guest for that, and I think I have a good idea.
Okay.
So I'm
I'll let you guys impress me.
Can you and Josh? Josh?
Nosotros podemos hacerlo.
Entonces, español todo el día, claro que sí.
We can't have this.
No, not yet.
The guest can't speak Spanish because it can't be Castro because that would just be problems.
So, anyways,
Patreons.
Thanks to our Patreons. Thank you guys. Your support is what makes the show happening. And then sponsors.
AM intakes. If you want your car to suck more air, make more power, and make some exhaust.
Which, by the way, go check out their Instagram right now. They just posted a very
spicy meat.
And Chris has been doing a phenomenal job on turning that AM Instagram page into fire.
At AM intakes.
Motegi Racing Wheel. Big balls. He runs Motegi.
Corey.
Run Motegi. Paco runs Motegi. We are Motegi fans because they are awesome and they're the best.
Because their wheels are the roundest wheels you can find in the market.
Think about it. They used to be in Formula One. They're on drift cars. They're on every car around the world. They make OE replacements and
they have
Motegi Racing Wheels. If you like style for miles,
they have a factory in Italia.
Do you think I could get some?
Yes, Sam, for sure. Yeah, they're actually the factory wheel in the Ferrari Challenge. Motegi. Yeah. Motegi's the jam.
Yeah, they do the right stuff, dude. Those wheels they released for Osbo at Irwindale.
Oh, fire! We should post that though.
I'm looking for something kind of special. Do they make any one spokes?
Yeah, they do. Yep, they make a one spoke, and that's the one you sit on, Sam. And then obviously, what's a Motegi wheel without Nexen tire?
Nexen tire and Ferra Club at NFEARA
Club. Nexen tire.
In Ferra Club.
They're made out of a special compound of rubber that when you inhale it, it makes your farts not stink.
Oh, it does. It makes you go fast.
What kind of rubbers are you thinking?
Yeah, no, Nexen tire. Actually, I'm getting.
How many are you gonna go through?
I'm bringing 20 rears.
20 rears.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're gonna throw down at Desert Meihan with some Nexen and Ferra.
Yeah. 10 a day. 10 a day,
buddy. Yeah, we're hopefully gonna.
You're gonna get so hyped. You're gonna blow them all in one day. You're gonna blow your whole load in one day.
I haven't done that yet, but I will. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Mash from Driftcast. Enjoy your Turkey Day. Enjoy your 3-day weekend if you have it. 4-day weekend. But
thank everybody in your life. Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Sam.
We'll hopefully be doing some live streaming from Desert Meihan. So stay tuned to our Instagram and Facebook.
We'll be there. So see you guys. Have a good night. Thank you.
Goodbye.